terrific to be able to be here on Sunday morning because for me, and I think maybe for some of us, there's always something in the message that speaks directly to me, that allows me an opportunity to rearrange my stuff. Because sometimes my stuff gets a little mixed up. So I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Reverend Joyanne up to the front as she talks to us today about taking that connection deeper. Reverend Joyanne.
Thank you. All right, let's do this turn. There we go. All right, so I'd like to welcome all of you to spring. Who's ready for spring? Spring-like or what? And of course, we know that winter might still sneak up on us again. No? You're shaking your head. The winter's done for sure. Not a snowflake will fall. I'm going to hold you to that. I will. I'll call you middle of the night, snowing.
Good luck.
You won't answer. All right. So our theme for this month is really all about our connection with the sacred. And so my question this morning for all of you, which you already know the answer, where do we connect from? And where is that sacred connection? Is it out here? Is it down here? Where is it? Anyone know? It's within and all around us. So it's within and all around. Let's do that together. It's within and all around us, right? And so many times people have interesting opportunity. I call it an interesting opportunity for spiritual growth. I met with someone yesterday for 2.5 hours who was having an interesting opportunity. And with their family of origin, and this is a grown adult, retired, who's not at our center, so don't look around and wonder who I was talking to, because sometimes people do that. This person's not a member of our center, an acquaintance, and was having a rough time, and talked for 2.5 hours about their challenge with their family of origin. The mother passed away a bit ago and left property, and anyone ever go through, they're all fighting over it? Anyone notice that? What is with that? And so I got an opportunity to listen, and I kept doing a timeout because this person was just pounding on the table. I mean, they really got into it. Isn't that great? And then when I said, I gotta go, this person said to me, gosh, I feel so much better. I didn't feel better, but they did. So that was interesting. It was an interesting opportunity. So we have interesting opportunities. And we get to choose our thoughts. We choose how our experience will be. We choose. So you want to choose the thoughts and choose the experience. And that's what I try. I really put a lot of energy into expressing that with this person. They're so upset. And we need to look out a different window. As the great master teacher said, we need to turn the other cheek. That doesn't mean you let someone slap you and then you turn the other cheek so they can slap you on the other side. If it's a kiss, I would say, okay. But, it's really about taking your attention away from what is not working in your life and putting all of your attention on what it is you do want. I kept asking that question. And even though I did this is like, it was a guy friend. So even though, I'm doing the timeout thing, it wasn't registering. They couldn't stop. So anyway, maybe you have a friend like that or someone that is in that kind of situation. You can just be present with them. And then they'll say, oh, I feel so much better. So yes, okay. So today you're invited to take this whole idea. We talked last week. I shared with you the idea of the sacred connection because we are preparing for Easter. Preparing for Easter. And that is a huge holiday for many of our spiritual sisters and brothers around the world. And there's many reasons for that. It's also a time of spring, a time of renewal, rebirth. And so many people are wanting to be outside. Anyone notice that you just have this calling, just even if you go sit in the sun? Last night on the news, they showed a picture of Toronto. And they showed all these people sitting in a beach chair on the beach, soaking up the sun. And they said they can't believe it was like warmer than it is here. And they were baking in this, like getting a suntan in March. It was amazing. So we're really, looking at this whole month of taking our connection with the earth, with one another, with spirit, taking that to a deeper level. So you're invited today, and I'm going to be asking you 3 questions. And your answers, hopefully you'll be able to say yes to these 3 interesting questions, and these questions will take you to that deeper place. Dr. Holmes said, at the spiritual level, we are perfect. But our individual use of life and the life energy and law enables us to cover a perfect idea with an apparently imperfect human cloak. Anyone have an imperfect human cloak? Just one of you. According to an old Sufi tale, one afternoon, Nasruddin and his friend were sitting in a cafe drinking tea. They're sipping tea and talking about life and love. How come you never got married, Nasruddin, his friend asked. Well, said Nasruddin, to tell you the truth, I spent my youth looking for the perfect woman. In Cairo, I met a beautiful and intelligent woman with eyes like dark olives. But she was unkind. Then in Baghdad, I met a woman who was a wonderful and generous soul, but we had no interests in common. One woman after another would seem just right, but there would always be something missing. Then one day I met her. She was beautiful. She was intelligent. She was generous. She was kind. We had everything in common. In fact, she was perfect. Well, said Nasruddin's friend, what happened? Why didn't you marry her? Nasruddin sipped his tea reflectively. Well, he replied, it's a very sad thing indeed. Seems that she was looking for the perfect man. So our soul's journey is really about integration, about taking our spiritual center, knowing that our body is an expression of that center as well, that we are grounded, that we are centered, that the divine is in us, as us, expressing itself. It's everywhere, and this is taught in all of the great spiritual teachings and religions of the world. We are made out of God stuff, and we are here to create. So look at your life right now. What are you creating? What are you creating in your life? Are you creating tired? Are you creating energy? Are you creating prosperity or poverty? Of health and well-being or illness? And the great news is anytime we find ourselves going in the wrong direction, we simply make a correction. It's just like you're in a beautiful ship on the ocean and you're just making a correction. So idea one for today is that our attitude determines our altitude. In aeronautics, any of you familiar with aeronautics? Attitude is the orientation of an aircraft or spacecraft relative to the direction of travel. Attitude determines your altitude, whether you pitch, roll, or yaw. I don't know what a yaw is, but it sounds like a yawn. What would a yaw be? Oh, thank you. Thank you. So this is a yaw. See, there is someone that knows about aeronautics. So, you're on a trajectory in your life. What are you creating? And especially if we have one of our dear members who's moving to the island. And this is such a wonderful, when you make them have a moving experience, you get to create your life new. You get to redo. It's a redo of whatever you want. You can be, and it's an opportunity, so I love that. Viktor Frankl, some of you may know him. He was in a war camp, a prisoner, and this is what he said, I quote, he said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. When we are no longer able to change a situation, think of a situation in your life. I was thinking of this person that I met with yesterday for 2.5 hours. So when we're no longer able to change a situation, we can't change other people. I had to say that many times. Your family's doing all this interesting stuff over here. We can't change them. So when you find you're in any situation you're not able to change, of course you can't, then we are challenged to change ourselves. Everything can be taken, and he went on to say, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, and the last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So in order for us to make that deeper connection, I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. Here are the 3 questions. You can start to think about them and then see if you can answer yes to them. And they are from the poem that I shared last week from Oriah Mountain Dreamer. So the first question, I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. Question 2, I want to know if you can live with failure, what you perceive as failure, yours or mine, and still stand on the edge of the lake and scream yes, yell yes. And number 3, finally, the third question, I want to know if you can see beauty. If you can get up in the morning and see beauty even when it's not pretty. Anyone ever wake up with their hair standing straight up? Those of us that have hair. I wake up in the morning, I think, good God. I scare my cat. So if we can look in the mirror and see beauty even when it's not pretty, and every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. So let's explore each of these questions. The first one, again, is can you disappoint another to be true to yourself? I want to share this true story. It has to do with my daughter. So my daughter was 21, and she was offered a summer job. In this summer job, it was to make organic lemonade at county fairs across the U.S. So she would be traveling, the person who hired her, she could travel all the way across the U.S. to all the fairs. Isn't that exciting? Then he said, because it's an internship, you're not going to be paid. So she's telling me this, and I'm thinking, this doesn't sound right. So she goes on this journey, and she was only gone about, I'm going to say half the time, provided vegan food because she's vegan. Every day got up, lifted, there's just 3 of them, lifting up these heavy things, they're the structure at a fair, organic lemonade. All day she made lemonade, and the lemon juice sprayed on her, and she got a rash, really bad, and she had to go to the hospital. So she calls me. She says, Mom, I don't know what to do, because I told my boss I can't do this anymore. And he said, no, you promised that you would be here all summer. You have to continue. She goes, I don't know what to do. She had no money because she wasn't being paid. She's way in the middle, way back east somewhere, making lemon every day. She said, my back hurts. I'm in the hospital. So I said to her that one sentence that I remembered from the poem. Are you willing to disappoint another in order to be true to yourself? And there was total silence. And then she said, thank you. And then about 2 days later, I get a phone call from her, and she says, Mom, I'm home. She was living in Portland. She went home. So she was able to recognize that she wasn't being true to herself, but because she wanted to please this person who was her boss that wasn't paying them. I didn't say a word because I think it's important that we don't tell our children what to do, that we love them, we bless them, we don't lecture them, we don't say, you should do this and you should do that, because like all good teenagers and young adults, they'll do the opposite, usually. So it was very interesting. So that's one example of in this room, can you disappoint another in order to be true to yourself? That's hard to do. If you've ever had to do it, it's not easy. So the great master teacher, Jesus, often taught in parables, and that's a pretty good model for teaching. So I'm going to give you some parables for today, and here's the first one. This parable tells of an elderly man who is traveling with a boy and a donkey. As they walked through a village, the man was leading the donkey, and the boy was walking behind the donkey. The townspeople said the old man was a fool. You're a fool for not riding. So in an effort to please them, he climbed up on the animal's back. The townspeople, then they traveled to the next town, the next village, and the man is now riding on the donkey. And the people said the old man was cruel to get on the donkey and let the young boy walk. So he got off the donkey and he put the boy on, and they went to the next town. Well, the next town they get to, the people said, well, how terrible you are to the boy, because the old man should be on the donkey. So it was like he couldn't please anybody. So they switched again. And so in the third village, the people accused this child of being lazy because he was on the donkey. And so the man climbed off, and they set off again. And in the fourth village, the town people were indignant at the cruelty of both of them. they criticized them, and so they felt so bad, they decided, well, so that, they continue on their journey, and they said, well, maybe we should get off, they were both on the donkey, get off the donkey and try and help the donkey. While they were trying to help the donkey across the bridge, the donkey fell, and he landed in the water and he drowned. So the moral of the story is, if you live your life trying to please other people, you will eventually lose your, shall we say, your donkey. You will lose your donkey. Right? So have you ever found a time, maybe you had a time in your life where you lost your donkey? So you don't want to always be at the critical receiver of information, and then you change everything. Because my daughter had to go through that too, having to listen to the criticism of this man, of this person who was very supportive and very loving, but wasn't paying them, and she made a good decision. Second question for today: can you live with failure? Think about a time that you might have felt you were a failure. Anyone here feel like you have failed relationships? Yeah. Or failed at your work? Or failed at being a parent? I felt that way. When my son committed suicide, I thought, I must be a really terrible mother that my son would do that. I'm a minister after all. So we blame ourselves sometimes. We do that. So that question, can you live with failure and still stand on the edge, or what you perceive as failure, stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the moon, yes. So here is an example. Here's some wonderful parables, and of course from the biblical figures. I looked this up and I found this fascinating. And this is what people said. They told Abraham that he was too old. Isaiah, they said, was a daydreamer. Jacob was told he was a liar. Joseph was abused and abandoned. Samson, remember Samson and Delilah? Samson was a womanizer. Jeremiah and Timothy were too young. Elijah was suicidal. This next one you'll like. Isaiah liked to preach naked. Can you imagine? Wouldn't that be distracting? And then John the Baptist ate bugs. He used to eat locusts, not locusts. Those are flowers. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. The disciples fell asleep while praying, and the Samaritan woman was married and divorced more than once, and for heaven's sake, Lazarus was dead. So if all these people could go on and become famous in the scriptures, and for thousands and thousands of years, and after their existence, we are still reading about them, then perhaps we can too. Third question: can you see your own beauty, especially when you wake up in the morning, even when it's not pretty? And every day, if you can source your own life, can you source your own life from its presence? Ernest Holmes says, we have the ability to choose what we will do with our lives. And we are unified with a law which automatically produces our choice. While we do not have the ability to destroy the idea of ourselves, we do have the ability to deface it or make it appear discordant, but we cannot destroy the divine image. So let us remember that back of the one which we see is the divine image. And I love these words. This is a new book in 2015. You may have heard of it. It's called Big Magic. Anyone read that yet? Big Magic? Written by Elizabeth Gilbert. And she says to talk to yourself in a very direct and real way when you are not able to see your own beauty. So see how you like. This is her words. It's very interesting. She said, over time, I found the right tone of voice to use with myself. It's best to be insistent, but affable. Repeat yourself, but don't get shrill. Speak to your most negative. Anyone have negative interior voices? Speak to your most negative interior voices the way a hostage negotiator speaks to a violent psychopath. Firm, but calm. Most of all, never back down. You cannot afford to back down. The life you are negotiating to save, after all, is your own. Who the heaven do you think you are, this voice says, or use the other word. Who the hell do you think you are? Your darkest interior voice will demand. You answer back. It's funny you should ask. And you reply to this negative voice, I'll tell you who I am. I am a child of God. I am a constituent of this universe, and the fact that I am here at all is evidence that I have the right to be here. I have a right to my own voice and a right to my own thinking and my own vision. I have a right to collaborate with creativity because I myself am a product and a consequence of creation. I am on a mission. I love this. If someone asks me what I do from now on, I'll tell them this. I am on a mission of artistic liberation. Isn't that great? I am on a mission of artistic liberation. So let the girl go. So you're talking to your negative voice. So let the girl go. See, now you're the one doing the talking. So what about your life? Are you able to speak to your most negative, that voice that tells you, all kinds of interesting things, and firmly, like you're a negotiator. I love that. You're a negotiator. What do they call it? You are a negotiator speaking to a violent psychopath. That inner voice that tells you you're not good enough, you're not attractive enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not tall enough, you're not smart enough to talk firmly and say, I am a child of God. So one of the ways that we diminish ourselves, that we do on this planet, is through a habitual pushing away of the good that is trying to express itself through other people to us. And so if anyone pays you a compliment, I'm going to give you homework this week. I'm going to invite you to do this week, and we're going to practice this morning. You'll have an opportunity. So one of the ways, so if someone gives you a compliment, you are to simply say, thank you for noticing. So we're going to practice this a little bit. So I want you to say to me, thank you for noticing.
Thank you for noticing.
So you are awesome.
Thank you for noticing.
You are beautiful.
Thank you for noticing.
You didn't say that like you really meant to. You are beautiful.
Thank you for noticing.
You look great today.
Thank you for noticing.
You did a great job.
Thank you for noticing.
All right. So now I want you to turn to someone. It can be your wife or someone in the room. And I want you to find one thing you like about that person. It can be their energy, their scarf, their smile, their glasses, their hair, anything. And I want you to respond. They're going to give you a compliment, and I want you to respond by saying, thank you for noticing. Let's do that just for a minute. So give them a compliment.
Thank you for noticing. Come and get in closer.
Okay, then find one other person, another person. You can get up and move around.
Thank you for noticing.
You admire each other's hair? Okay. Thank you for noticing. All right, good. All right. So how did that feel? Because most of the time, someone will say, I like your dress. Thank you for noticing. Okay, come sit down. Come sit down. Okay. All right, so sometimes what we'll do is people will give you a compliment. They'll say, oh, this old thing. I like your necklace. Oh, this old thing. And I've done it myself. I mean, I don't usually say that about my clothes because I like my clothes, but I'll say that about other things. I look in the mirror and it scared the cat. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say about myself, right? I look in the mirror in the morning, it's like, oh my God, it scared the cat. So that's not nice. So I'm going to change that and say, wow, you look gorgeous. And then myself will say, well, thank you for noticing. So this week, you are invited to practice this with every compliment that you give. If someone says, I like your Harley, thank you for noticing. If you just say thank you, that's one level. But when you say thank you for noticing, you're really owning it. There's something that happens and you own it. So you want to be giving yourself some positive affirmation. So today, you have been called to make a connection to the sacred by accepting. Not just by accepting, by loving, but the fullness of who you are. Every part of you, loving yourself. To be true to yourself, even if it means disappointing another. To live with failure, what you perceive as failure, and still stand on the edge of the lake, and we have 100 lakes, someone told me, in this area, on one of the lakes. So you could stand on the lake and say yes to the silver of the moon, no matter what. And finally, to see beauty, even when it's not pretty, every day, and to source your own life from its presence. So as you do these things, you will move deeper into that divine connection. The more that you acknowledge, love, and be true to you, you literally go into that deeper, most amazing, most powerful place within your own soul. And you feel that connection. your connection to the divine, which is always, always there. And you have that full understanding that you are made out of love, here to love. You are loved, loving, and lovable. I am loved, loving, and lovable. So let's say that together. I am loved, loving, and lovable. Let's say it again. I am loved, loving, and lovable. That's why we came. We came here. People say, what's the great school of hard knocks? Anyone want to suffer? How about if it's the great school of loving, learning to love? And anything that doesn't appear to be loving is just simply love misguided. It's all love, it's all the time. So I challenge you this week to receive those compliments. And let's anchor this into our meditation time. I'm going to have the wings played. The beautiful angel wings. Thank you, Rael. So let's just take a moment just to anchor this into our DNA, if you will. And that is that I am recognizing the divine in everything. We even have a song about that. There is God in everything. There is divinity. There is energy. The great teacher Einstein said, everything is energy. And so I am simply recognizing that it is divine energy that created the entire cosmos. The universe upon universe upon universe, forever expanding. That this divine energy created the stars and the planets. And I read there's 100 million universes in the cosmos. That's a whole lot of universes. And we're in one of those, a tiny little beautiful dot in the universe. A blue-green planet spinning in space like a gem. And I recognize the presence of God everywhere, the presence of spirit, life everywhere, this energy everywhere present, equally present everywhere. And I know that I live and move and have my being inside the container that I call God. So there's never a moment when I am separate from this divine energy that created the universe and the cosmos, the universe upon universe. And so I know my oneness. I am one with, as, and of the divine. I am one of the divine. Here at the most amazing time to be alive, the time of the Great Awakening. And what are we awakening to? We are awakening to our spiritual magnificence. That I am made in the image and the likeness of the divine energy. As above, so below. As within, so within. And so knowing that, I speak my word on behalf of myself this morning and everyone within the sound of my voice. That I am here as this magnificent awakened soul. And that I am asked to be true to myself, true to my spiritual essence, even if it means disappointing another. That, like my daughter, being true to yourself is not sometimes always easy. It's so important to be true to your divine nature. I am also called to live and move and have my being in a positive regard of every situation. And if I find myself calling it a failure, that I reframe that. There is no such thing as failure. That I can celebrate my courage at facing whatever situation appears. I have amazing courage. And finally, that I am willing to see beauty in myself, even if I look in the mirror in the morning and I say it's not too pretty. That I can see my spiritual beauty every day and to source my life from beauty's presence. And I realize that as I do these three things, that I move into a greater and a deeper than ever before full understanding of what it really means, of who I really am, of why I am really here. To express my divinity, to be love, loving, and lovable. And to expand that into the greatest possibility for my life and for everyone that I come into contact with, because when we do our work within ourselves, we provide the space, the energy, and the magnificence that encourages others to do the same. And so I am so grateful for this beautiful time of year, for this beautiful Center for Spiritual Living, for all of our centers, about 500 of them around the world, that are teaching a positive message about life as we move deeper into our own connection with the sacredness within. And as within, we see it everywhere. And we recognize and love ourselves. We spread that around in our world. It becomes a positive type of contagious. When we love ourselves, we are more available to love others. When we appreciate our strength and our courage, we provide that for others. They see it and feel it, even without saying a word. So thank you, Infinite Spirit, for your life that is my life, that is our life right now. I am so grateful. It is almost spring, even if there's a little snow that shows up here and there. It is spring. It is a time of rebirth, reconnection, new life, new beginnings. Even if you move to an island, it's a new beginning. It's an adventure. It's a God adventure. I love it. And so I just give thanks for that as I release these words into the absolute law of mind. I let go, I let God in gratitude as we anchor this together by saying, and so it is. And we have a beautiful song, all of us living under one sky. I invite you just to stay in that place.